Wetlands are important for a variety of reasons. One is that they're a really important coastal barrier.
These types of environments are kind of the first line of defense.
So they protect our communities against storms. They help buffer from waves and big storms like tsunamis or hurricanes. They provide a really important habitat, so they foster a lot of biodiversity.
They're nurseries. They're biological perspective, they're important, and from a human resilience perspective, they're really important, yeah.
So normally wetlands can adjust to natural variations in sea level rise, but the problem is that sea level is rising so fast now that the wetlands are having trouble keeping pace. Wetlands are drowning because they can't accumulate that sediment fast enough to keep pace with the water levels rising.
The marsh the way it used to be, and now that the tides are higher all the time, the way the marshes are eroding, and sections of it that never get dry, like they end up rotting, and then it kind of falls out and goes away, so then it's just mud.
In New Jersey, 20% of the state is made up of wetlands, 900,000 acres of delicate ecosystems that are vital for coastal resilience, flood control, and a home for thousands of species of plants and animals. But there used to be so much more. A combination of threats have left wetlands environments trapped and falling into the rising sea. Climate change, sea levels rising, human destruction. And now, in 2025, New Jersey has lost 50% of all its freshwater and saltwater wetlands. From the 50s to the mid-70s, wetlands across New Jersey were being drained or filled in to create land that was suitable for human use. During this time, 20% of the wetlands in New Jersey had been destroyed. It wasn't until 1972, with the Federal Clean Water Act, that wetlands received some of their first protections. But many of the freshwater wetlands and marshes throughout New Jersey fell through the cracks of these protections. It wasn't until environmentalists and concerned individuals rallied for 4 years for freshwater wetlands to get the protections needed to keep the environment safe. After the New Jersey Freshwater Wetlands Protection Act of 1987 was passed, most of New Jersey's wetlands are now protected under federal and state laws. While the wetlands in New Jersey are now protected from human destruction, we are still driving wetlands to the brink.
A lot of people don't really understand that, or want to believe that climate change is real, but the issue is that everyone has a form of climate change in their lives that's impacting them, but they just don't seem to realize it, like the flooding.
Marley Wetzel has lived in Wildwood, a barrier island on the Jersey Shore, her entire life. Behind much of the Jersey Shore is thousands of acres of coastal wetlands. In high school, she had the opportunity to take 3 years of a class dedicated to natural sciences. In that class, they explored and studied much of the wetlands in their backyard.
It's really upsetting, actually, because that's if I go back in 5 years in that area that I explored for years with all of my classmates and my teacher, and if I go back and it's not there anymore, that's really upsetting.
Nobody wants to say it's climate change. Everybody's got, well, it's this, it's this, it's this. Nobody ever wants to really say it's climate change. After all said and done, I'm not saying some of them factors don't have an impact, but I just think all in all, the water is higher. My name's Ted Kingston. I've lived here in Strathmere since I've been 10 years old. I'm involved in local politics. We took the township to court over beach fills and trying to protect our town. In a bad storm decades ago, you would still have, moderate to severe flooding. But now even on nice days, you can have sunny days where there's not a storm or anything and the roads flood.
And as the Earth's climate changes and the world warms, the ice at the poles melts and the sea rises.
You look at the tide charts, the 100-year tide chart from Atlantic City, it's like a straight line going uphill. There's no way to explain that. There's not like 3 layers of interpretation. You look at that tide chart, and from 1900 to now, the water, the line is just steady going uphill.
Coastal communities are now some of the first places that are feeling the effects of the rising seas. For many, they are seeing the floods, the loss of beaches, and the damage that is being done.
And it's just like a personal matter too. Like right now, like at home, like there's like probably like up to knee level worth of flooding right now. And yes, I understand that like we've become used to it like our whole lives because like yes, that has been happening more and more. So it's just like it's really scary because
Big thing that I've noticed change is going down to the beach that I grew up going to. Used to walk across 100 yards of sand dunes, like up over the dune and make it down onto the beach. Now it's just a bulkhead, and there's maybe 100 yards of beach to even go on now. Yeah, my name's Charles Collier. I was a commercial fisherman for about 5 years, and I did trawling on the eastern seaboard and scallop fishing as well.
For people like Charles, Ted, and Marley who have lived at the Jersey Shore for almost their entire lives, many believe that beaches are what protect them from flooding and storms, as well as the rising seas. Of course, this is true, but what many don't know is that the wetlands play just as big as a part as beaches just behind them, and are vital for the protection of their communities, as well as combating the very thing that threatens to destroy them. Climate change.
So I'm Dr. Lauren Kipp. I'm an assistant professor in the environmental science department at Rowan University. We are studying the effect of sea level rise on the carbon storage potential in wetlands. So wetlands will take up carbon dioxide, but they will also emit methane. And what we're interested in studying is how do the fluxes of those two gases change as sea level rises. Yeah, wetlands are super important. They're one of the most efficient carbon sinks that we have. So by carbon sink, I mean an environment that can take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and store it, which is what we want to combat climate change, right? Like we want to take CO2 out of the atmosphere. We want to keep it locked away rather than letting it come back into the atmosphere. So wetlands are really good at that because the plants grow fast, so they take up a lot of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and then they bury that sediment, or they bury the carbon in the sediment, and it doesn't break down super quickly in wetland sediments compared to like other environments. So that carbon ends up being stored for a long period of time, which is what we want. So wetlands are really good at helping us fight climate change. So normally wetlands can adjust to natural variations in sea level rise through a process called accretion, where they'll trap more sediment and kind of raise their level in accordance with sea level rising, or they can migrate inland. But the problem is that sea level is rising so fast now that the wetlands are having trouble keeping pace. So we use the term drowning, like wetlands are drowning because they can't accumulate that sediment fast enough to keep pace with the water levels rising. And then the other natural thing that they do is move inland, but humans have built up so much behind wetlands that there's really nowhere for them to go.
Since the 1950s, the Wetlands Institute and just the Scotch bonnet property in general has seen an increase in inundation all across the marsh. We've lost, since the 1950s, a little over 30% of the marsh. So the Wetlands Institute, our goal is basically to preserve, protect, and steward for wetland ecosystems. And for the past 50 years, that's essentially what we've been doing through research, through conservation-based improvement measures, and through educational programming. Bailey Sanders, I am the Research and Conservation Coordinator of the Wetlands Institute. I previously worked at the Barnegat Bay Partnership in Ocean County, but I found myself coming more and more south. I was a Rowan graduate of the Biological Sciences program, and we are very very lucky to have a very good example of what is happening in sea level rise and climate change outside. So obviously we use that to our advantage, and we implement that in our educational programming as well. We see it all the time on our salt marsh trail. So we're actually going to be doing a salt marsh restoration or the trail restoration in the coming few years. It floods a lot. Like, there's an issue with a lot of the terrapin nesting. So the terrapins naturally will come up to find higher elevation to lay their eggs. And a lot of that area is just slowly getting lower and lower. And you're seeing a lot more tidal inundation of those nests as well.
While all may sound like doom and gloom, with climate change and rising sea levels causing so much destruction, it is these people, the ones that care for the environment around them, who can help protect these vital ecosystems. Through research and conservation, people who care for these environments work hard to preserve the wetlands and can make a difference in their future.
It's not one thing. I wish I could say there was an easy thing, but a mixture, a collaboration of science, conservation, education, community. People need to have a stake in the environment and the community around them to understand why it's so important.
I would like to at some point come back here and work on the beaches and stuff. So I want to try and go into environmental policy or politics, or become an environmental lawyer, and that's what I'm studying in college. So
there was a professor at Rowan, Dr. Nathan Rule, who told me, if you can't explain it to somebody off the street, then you don't know it enough. So I've kind of used that as a motivation to make sure that I can motivate the community by teaching them what I know, or teaching them about what we're doing, to keep them in the loop and make them feel like they have a stake.
What wetlands need is action. For the world to understand that we are causing beautiful environments like these to fall into the ocean. That because of climate change and rising sea levels, the ecosystems so many creatures rely on could be swept away in the coming future. That the only way to fix what we've done is to fix it ourselves. Wetlands and so many environments like them are on the brink, and only we can save them.